No, thanks, guys. This is going to be interesting. So we have Alessandro from Jur. Sergio, we heard a lot about public pressure. We do like another round, I guess, with the founder. And, Peter from Parity, new adventure. Let's see. So our panel is going to be why Polkadot? So we'd like to start actually with you, Alessandro, with this question. Why Polkadot?
Thanks, Alessandro. I'm really glad to be here today. So I will be very short. I think that when you actually have to build a project in this field, you are always thinking how you can create the best value you can in the next 5-7 years of your time. And we made this choice of building also on Polkadot in order to be future-proof. This technology has various actually unique benefits that have been discussed also so far. I think that having, Polkadot has been the project working more on the governance side. Also, I would like to bring maybe one topic that I'm not sure has been touched. I think that from the regulatory perspective, it's important to operate in an environment that is safe. And as we know, Polkadot has been working a lot on that side, and with the SEC, actually, they got the DOT token to be actually recognized as a non-security. So this is the best place where to build for being future-proof and to build solid, actually, piece of technologies that will change the world.
Yeah, you touched technology. So, Sergio, from you, of course, building on Polkadot or building on other chain has to be a lot of due diligence research and so on. How was for public pressure, to choose one instead? I mean, competitors are very strong, right?
But it depends on what you need to build in technology, right? I'm gonna connect with all the other panelists that were here before, explaining the future. The future is on the royalty. The future is on restructuring a lot of the industry. So the technology value proposition is not basically using a bicycle to go to the corner shop, which can be the analogy using smart contract to issue NFTs. That's a very simple technological value proposition. You can do it pretty much in every EVM chain. But when you start thinking about bringing the streaming data into the chain, thinking about understanding how the rights come into the chain, thinking how to understand how the rights, they are attached to the business model, and then the user data, and then all that music industry basically operating on chain to bring the transparency and the royalty management that, if you want, all my team was discussing before. At that point, you need a very robust and superior technology. And that's, I think, the claim that everyone does on Polkadot. Now, we all believe that Polkadot is the robust, scalable, long-term technology play that any project with that vision should be really attached and look forward to work into. And the other point, I think, is also the people. I mean, we always talk about tech. But as well, I think, most of the Polkadot ecosystem is sitting in this room, and I think through the conversation you realize the openness, the vision, the ability to sit down, talk problems, solve problems. So effectively, you don't just have a technology, you have an ecosystem of professionals with the willingness to create the next frontier in Web3. That's, I think, is the why Polkadot.
For you, Peter, actually is the opposite. So while they're choosing to come to you, you need to actually get people, to build the ecosystem. How is that from Parity? How do you attract these guys, for example?
Yeah, so I joined Parity as Chief Marketing Officer last July, and this has been question number one since the beginning. What is the value proposition? How do we attract the target audience, new builders, to Polkadot? Because my team employed by Parity, but all we care about is growing the ecosystem. And from people holding DOT, of course, it's all about how can Polkadot grow, because only then the value of the DOT grows, and how do we go to end-user adoption. So it's a multifaceted thing, but it all boils down to how do we attract big, successful, or small and then successful projects, Web3 native or large corporations. So to come to the answer of your question, I think at first there was a lot of discussion about technologies and things and the Web3 ethos, but really if you want to condense it down to a couple of things only, and after talking to so many projects, it comes down to three things. One is, with Polkadot, there's unlimited innovation. So really, if a founder comes in or a team comes in and wants to build something in Web3, Polkadot offers a place where I think innovation is happening, where people can innovate much more than, for example, on Ethereum. All you can do is EVM smart contracts. So it's like cookie cutter, right? I'm exaggerating, but at Polkadot you can do smart contracts. You can also do a completely custom blockchain, Or as John from Mystical laid out, you can build out a blockchain system even on Polkadot. So the flexibility is incredible. It's completely modular. You can keep upgrading your own blockchain with new models because it's upgradable, and many, many other technical features. I don't want to go in details. And I think of positioning Polkadot as a pioneers network. People who really want to disrupt an industry, people who really would like to innovate, they should come to Polkadot. And looking at the variety of use cases we're covering and how deep they rethink industries. You saw many use cases today here on the stage. It's only possible on Polkadot. We actually created a hashtag only on Polkadot, and people love it because that's true. You can only do certain things on Polkadot. Take it from a perspective of you want to build a custom blockchain because you want to innovate. You can do it all yourself, of course, creating a validator network, creating the whole security, building everything from scratch, like building a city. And what Polkadot offers is, of course, the whole relay chain. The security comes out of the box. We have an SDK called Substrate, which allows many functions already. There are other chains who offer certain functionalities, and this network effect happens now. So that, in essence, delivers a time to market, actually low cost also. The third value proposition is, and that's something nobody really talks about, specifically people from the Ethereum and the roll-up world, which is how much does it cost to run a project? The ongoing cost of gas fees. Yes, I know the Scytale roll-ups, they kind of lowered the Ethereum gas costs, but it's not just about the ongoing predictability of the cost. It's about how secure is that cost? Will its price change over time? And the other flexibility we're giving is economic freedom of creating and designing your tokenomics the way you want. Polkadot allows an economic modeling. I think John also talked about it for Mystical, for example, thinking about the gaming economy, the tokenomics within a game, and having that flexibility to carve it out, or use public pressure when you think about music and how do we engineer the tokenomics of that, the reward function. You need to run your own blockchain to do that, but we provide out-of-the-box kind of functionality to design your tokenomics in a very innovative way. So the freedom to innovate on tokenomics, you can only do that on Polkadot. You cannot do it when you run an EVM on Ethereum or anything else. So that is, you can, of course, code everything with a lot of effort, but Polkadot provides it out of the box. So economic modeling, time to market, and innovation, those are the three things.
You joined Parity like 11 months ago, as CMO.
It feels like years, it was last July, yes.
But okay, when you joined, how did you take, Parity, what's the biggest challenge and how you tackled that, to revive the ecosystem in a way?
Parity has a strong engineering kind of background, right? It's founded by engineers. The technology is awesome. The beauty of the product is understood by people who've coded it, who know it. But people coming to this space don't necessarily want to spend hours to understand that. So converting complex technology into a value proposition that you can articulate in one sentence or in a little Twitter feed or a LinkedIn post that people just spend half a second or 1 second on. It's a challenge everywhere, but it's no exception here. So what I'm working on with my team is to explain the value of Polkadot to potential builders, of course, to token holders, to everybody, right? And converting kind of, here's a cool technology, look at how it works, right? Which we can talk hours about, into, but why? Why is it important? Why does it matter? And then the entire marketing machine is something I've been ramping up now with the team. In terms of the whole spectrum of marketing, that's something, a muscle we've been
Any cool sponsorship you can announce on the line?
Not yet, no.
Okay. So Sergio, for you, you build an amazing NFT collection. Can you tell actually the story of that, the period as well when you actually launch it, and how Polkadot enter in the story?
But I was chatting with Peter before as well. Is when the word utility, right, comes into place, because the first stage is everyone is talking about asset tokenization. So in game, you tokenize every asset that you have in a game. In music, you tokenize the music. But then you sit down and you have to start wondering, what are you going to do with all these NFT? Do with all these tokens? Where is the incentive? Where is the reward? Where is the engagement? Where the community come into the picture? How you create the flow in the value chain to move from one project to another one? And that one, I think it was a very small case study, still successful, because we managed to, sold the collection of over 1.5 million in 6 days in October last year, where the market was wrecked, zero, no money, everything red. And we managed to achieve that. And actually, it was not just about selling them, but when we saw the community using the NFTs, and I mean, this one we did it in partnership with Monsama NFT, which everyone that knows me well knows that I have a super relationship with Donnie and the whole community. I have a Monsama myself. I live and breathe those Telegram chat on a daily basis.
You play Carnage?
I do, yeah. I'm really bad at it, but I play because it's important to understand. And when you saw those pods being bridged into the metaverse bridge and then getting into Carnage, and then suddenly, I remember still that day for me, it was like, wow. I got my avatar, I put the pods as an offender, I click play, and I was listening my music in the game with extra power compared with the other players. Then suddenly people understood that they could defend themselves when you get into the player against player sort of situation, because you want to steal resources, and with the pods you're more powerful. If you're down mining, you can mine faster and collect more resources.
So sorry, like the pod give you like power?
Yeah.
Okay, so you
that's
mine
the case study.
Okay, so not just like to listen to music or it's
exactly.
a cool item, it just actually add value to your character.
That's the music utility. So this cross-project pollination, and that's again, I think, is another only Polkadot hashtag, because when you're gonna see the permeability between the Parachain and all the project, and you can take this case study and really leverage them as an ecosystem, because now I think it's project to project building this initiative. But when you see it on ecosystem perspective, it's gonna be awesome.
So they have actually value in a secondary market. Let's say Alessandro wants to start, playing like, Carnage, he has his Monsama, but then he wants to buy, the pod to, whatever, fish faster, mine faster, and so on. So
yeah, they're available in secondary trading on the Rare Sama. At some point, they actually were 3 times the original price. Then obviously, I mean, you have the native currency coming into the picture and the whole market fluctuation. But when they came into trading, that's where the price was set. Like 3 times what I bought them yesterday. That's, as a user, the value proposition I have, which is a really good signal from a retail perspective.
Of course.
Feels that you bought something that is valuable.
How much are they now?
Pretty much on the same price they've been sold.
Ale, your proposition is different, right? You're, like trying to build something completely different. And I guess it's only you on the DOT ecosystem that talks about society. So what's that, and how important as well to be successful, and to have a monopoly, like for example, in this?
Great question. So first of all, I do believe that also in Web3, in the end, if you have a use case and if you have users, this is quite important. So I had the pleasure this morning to have a very fantastic conversation with a gentleman here who had 30 years of experience in actually in finance management, and I had the chance to explain what we are doing. And probably in a simplified way, we are exploring a new vertical of Web3. So we enable communities to create unstoppable organizations, which are much simpler than the model that probably every one of you knows as DAOs. We have been quite successful because before releasing the product, we launched an award and we got 53 different founders, and they represent over 500,000 of users. So we decided, even in Web3, to build a solid tech stack, and our solo chain is ready to be deployed. And at the same time, we worked with the users. We wanted to learn from them what are their needs, and we are discovering new needs that can be actually accessed and satisfied with actually Web3 technology. Our mission is to lower the barrier to Web3, to enabling communities to be created in one click, so one-click societies, to fundraise, to coordinate. So in this sense, we say we are building the future of governance. Essentially, you can imagine them as sorts of digital clubs where you can, in one click, join. When you join, you get your share or your right to vote on the decisions of this club. And they can evolve over the time. So which is the key point and the key value that we are generating? So in the end, we are saving tons of time and tons of money, potentially discovering something new. So we have now 50 plus actually upcoming members on our upcoming product. Over 500,000 of users. We will have also a few brands on the pipeline that I can't actually anticipate. And this is quite exciting because you are building something with actual users. They give you feedback, including some Instagram influencers. So we are exploring on new use cases, let's say, with a solid base of actual users there ready to use. And interacting with you. This vision actually belongs to a wider vision, which is the network state one. We have a past, as everyone knows, also in dispute resolution. We have one product ready. So we are looking in the next 12 months essentially to make sure that we got from 500 potential to 1 million of users on these clubs. We are simplifying. That's a bit the, I think, key recipe, simplifying the access to these new forms of organizations. I think that Web3, besides finance, is a revolutionary technology for better organizing actually communities or groups of people, even on a scale. We're going to iterate pretty fast in the next few weeks and months. And coming to your question, I mean, it's quite hard to say, if in an ecosystem like this, if there is someone joining, doing something similar, we welcome somehow other teams to do something in the spectrum, and we welcome in that case somehow partnering up and providing ultimately the best value and service to our communities.
Peter, what's for you, like on the same subject, like, is it better for Parity to have, like, one big player, or is better to have, like, a multiple, guys? For example, in specific project, let's say, like, what Ale is doing.
You mean like in one industry or in a vertical?
Yeah. Like if you think, let's say, like Public Pressure and Beatport, like maybe they are on the same music, like, environment, is it better for you to have, like, a big one or multiple? How is, like, your view on this?
Yes, spot on. So we've been discussing that, of course. The thing is, I mean, Polkadot, first of all, is just a platform. Everybody can, and it's a community-run business, so everybody can apply for a slot, and it's been voted on, and Parity doesn't make the call. Of course, at the same time, we're interested in winning one industry over the other, one after the other, and we cannot be the judge. So absolutely, Parity will not be the judge and cannot be the judge in saying, okay, whatever, one or two or three or one big one. The Polkadot success depends on the project success, and whether that is a startup we support to become big and disrupt an industry, or we acquire or we win let's say, a player like Mythical in gaming that comes with an existing user base. It's something, there is a recipe that we have. I think sometimes it's opportunistic, Mythical approached, and of course we engage and then we decide what we can do. In other cases, people just buy a slot and show up, and we have lots of startups. So I think there's no kind of secret plan or we pick one or whatever. I think our duty is to make any project successful. I think the market is huge. It's the whole world. There's space for everybody. Everybody needs to find a niche to be strong. I don't believe somebody can, or one project can be strong for anybody on the world. Each vertical is so big, like gaming. I mean, of course, Mythical is big, but we have many other games also on Polkadot, and they might find their niche and be successful in there. So our approach is we want to, of course, win new user bases to Polkadot because it's a fast track. At the same time, of course, helping the existing project to be successful. And yes, we have to balance that. And I think it all comes down at the end to have an open communication and discussion and not doing kind of surprises, right? So that's also, of course, a learning for, in some cases, maybe, to be very open and do it jointly together. Because the value of Polkadot is, and I think that's different from many other ecosystems, we are a community. Right? So we want the teams to work together to create these network effects. Sergio talked about the synergies between the Munsama guys and Public Pressure, and we see that with Kill Protocol now integrating with me, with a social media platform, which we announced last week. So there are many kind of network effects, which is collaboration between the teams. And that is just about to lift off right now. So those are the patterns I see in terms of success.
Sergio, talking about actually your token, when we're going to see your token? I guess everybody's interested.
Well, the planning is very soon. We have a window between June and September, so that's the plan. We're going, I mean, as Alessandro said before, I mean, next stage is going to be really regulatory. We believe that, I mean, you work in an exchange, so I think you can confirm that. So we spend quite a bit of time to go through, I don't know, for example, the FIM approval, which shows Switzerland as the jurisdiction that we want basically our token to be approved and regulated. We pushed the paper in February. We are expecting our no-action letter to come between May and June. So that one is going to be basically the time that we can decide and start planning. Because until I'm not going to clean up that part, I'm not really comfortable in coming out with the token. I want to make sure that we are fully compliant, especially I mean, talking with an industry of fashion brands, on music labels, with whatever happened with FTX and all the problematics of the bear market that we just survived, you need to sit down with people and show that they can trust what you're offering. And somehow the token becomes, I don't know, the currency of the ecosystem. So as Peter said, we can create new economics by using and leveraging the token, which is a technological tool, but he has to be compliant. He has to provide the trust to the counterparty to leverage it and use it. So that is going to be the first stage for us. Then we'll come to you for the listing. So
I know.
Can you commit that you're going to list it?
I did not. Ale, for you, when you are going to leave, I guess, VeChain?
Actually, it's a matter of days. So we will do the first token swap. So in order to bring the Jur token on our Jur chain, so it's already there. So you can expect in a matter of days this finally this very well expected moment to happen. I'm super happy because I received every day messages or requests or friends calling saying, I need to, I would like to support starting to use Jur or be part of this journey. And so far it was quite complex. So it's a matter of days.
Hello, gentlemen. Just one very simple question. How does Polkadot plan to grow without supporting or having successful dApps in its ecosystem?
The success of Polkadot, we defined, is, of course, the adoption of massive end-user bases, which require dApps to be there. We have a couple of chains which are dApp platforms, of which dApps are being built. Public Pressure is, of course, an application, end-user application, as it refers to. Traditionally, the Parity team has been focusing on acquiring and marketing to attract more Parachains, which are not end-user apps, which are infrastructure. So we're switching it now to expand the value proposition, our marketing efforts, to also attract dApps and help the Parachains, who are platforms in itself, to attract more dApps.
Thank you, but that's not the case. How the market is perceiving, you are just full on with Parachains and dApps are just not visible. So
yes,
as things stand, the ecosystem is not conducive to having successful dApps or potentially successful dApps. It's all Parachains.
Yes, I talked about the plans in the future and where we're going now.
Okay.
We don't do that yet. I agree.
If I may just add one word, because I think this is a great question, actually. So I think that in this precise moment, I think in Polkadot, there is a kind of inflection point. I think many things will come and happen. In our case, we made the effort to build both essentially an infrastructure layer and the upcoming product is an app. I do agree that actually there should be a combined effort to push adoption and user base. It happened to me to proposal to support the idea of an ecosystem fund, also to favor a kind of, I would say, well-organized plan for onboarding actual builders and actual dApps. As we know, when it comes to dApps, it's like startups. You need to have 10, 100, 200, trying to make it out. Maybe 5, 10 becomes larger. Some of them will fail, but still you cultivate and grow the ecosystem. Personally, I think this is a challenge Polkadot should probably address really in the short term in order to succeed in its mission. I think that corporate adoption or large user bases that are a component of the plan, and the other plan should be for sure this one of supporting a flourishing ecosystem. I think this is the key probably for also having a retail adoption. This will also help the liquidity probably side of Polkadot. I do believe that these are really the priorities, and I am confident that everyone involved in Polkadot from different sides and different contributors will work cohesively on that, including Parity, Web3 Foundation, all the Parachain teams. We need to, in my view, really push a lot on this side.
If I might add something, I switch my brain from public pressure to a crypto investor. I think that the statement is somehow wrong. The question should be, what is the potential of the dApps which are now considering the Polkadot ecosystem, and where the Polkadot ecosystem with that sort of engagement and cooperation is going to go in the next couple of years, 3 years or 4 years? That's the angle, because we shouldn't forget that the first slot of live Parachain happened in November 2021, then the market went completely down, and to be honest, I would struggle to have a look in other ecosystem because Terra Luna went bust. What was the other one? Solana together with FTX disappeared. So I would argue that if you go around looking in other ecosystem, Avalanche, Algorand, where are the successful dApps? Who can be considered successful today? Where the adoption is? I think you will count maybe 5, 6, 7, 10 projects. So I mean, we are all bootstrapping new business model. We're all bootstrapping new services. And the narrative should be really positive in the potential of having the ecosystem coming to life in Polkadot, because basically it happened in the last 24 months. So still to be proven that we cannot be successful and we are not successful.
Yeah. So it's something like, you see, like, let's say, like, the typical job interview, how do you see, like, in 5 years, in 3 years' time, that's where you see actually, because like we noticed, for example, Akala, collected like 30 million, DOT on the Parachain, and Aventus maybe 200,000 was enough, for the, so you see actually a newborn for DOT.
Yes, I mean, the first step for what I understand the architecture, and then Peter correct me, is the first step is the really chain comes to life when the initial parachain start connected and when you start creating the communication execution through XCM, and that's what brings life. It's like the blood is injected into the ecosystem when that steps begin to get into motion. And that's the only time where really you can consider as a dApp, as a marketplace, to start interacting with the technology and the ecosystem, because that's where, I mean, the whole project comes to life. That's happened very...
Absolutely, it's a journey. I mean, and you described it. First was the launch of the Relay chain. That was a layer 1 last year before December. Now we are the largest multi-chain ecosystem in the world. There's over 40, 50 chains live. And some of these projects have already their own kind of user base because they're end-user focused. Some of them are attracting now other dApp builders like Asta is doing. I mean, they go after large corporations, but they also have 500 dApp projects already they acquired and they're building out. And those are just happening right now, right? Public Pressure comes now on Munsama or on the new Parachain, right, onto the ecosystem. There's another app. We announced MeWe, social media network with 20 million users just 2 weeks ago, frequency. And now we talked about Mythical, which are existing user bases, and that's kind of an exception. But we also have the projects acquiring more dApps, so it's coming now. And if you compare to Ethereum, where thousands of dApps have been built, I'm not sure how many of those were actually successful in acquiring end users. If you take away all this NFT, JPEG kind of noise, right? What really is true sustainable end user use cases of daily interaction. I still have to find those nuggets of joy there, but it's a few, right? And they're also kind of trying to find a way and paying user acquisitions like some of these ZK roll-ups did, like acquiring kind of Starbucks NFTs. I mean, the question is how long sustainable is that, right? So I think we're still early stage, to be honest, right? And the race is still open. And I think Polkadot is in a great position. Others are not, and it's still a race. So I'm confident, and we made big strides. I think it's an inflection point. We've been at CoinDesk Consensus last week with 20 projects and teams on the booth, and I think what I took away from Consensus, and we had lots of feedback, is this kind of Polkadot suddenly is awakening, right? The beast has awoken. Some people framed it, because suddenly everybody talks about it. Because people recognize, oh my gosh, it's the largest multi-chain ecosystem in the world, and all these chains now collectively acquiring dApps with thousands of end users. It's just happening now. It starts to happen now, and I think the next months will be extremely exciting.